General Hospital spoilers tease that the woman Dante Falconeri thought he knew, his beloved Lulu Spencer, is gone, replaced by someone colder, more calculating, and harboring secrets darker than any crime he's faced. Ever since awakening from her mysterious coma several months ago, Lulu's transformation has been as profound as it is unsettling. Dante senses the shift, her sharpened steel-blue gaze, the way she carries herself with a quiet confidence edged by something almost predatory, but he could never have guessed how far Lulu's hidden life has diverged from the loving mother and wife he once adored. It was a crisp spring morning when Dante first noticed that Lulu's laughter had lost its warmth. The sunlight fell golden through their Port Charles living room windows, illuminating the children's toys strewn across the rug, yet her smile seemed forced, a shadow flickering beneath her pale skin. Only weeks earlier, they had celebrated her awakening. The miraculous day she opened her eyes in the General Hospital ICU, her memories fractured, but her spirit intact. Friends and family had wept tears of relief. Doctors hailed it as one of the great recoveries in the hospital's history. But beneath the jubilation lurked an unsettling truth. Lulu's mind had been a blank slate, vulnerable to suggestion, until a shadowy organization known only as DVX wormed its way in. In the terrified hush of post-coma delirium, Lulu's initial days were filled with gaps, ghostly recollections of hospital staff hovering at her bedside, the soft hum of life support machines, the sterile aroma of antiseptic. Dante stayed by her side, reading old love letters and recounting the tales of their daughter Molly's first steps. But as weeks passed, someone else whispered in Lulu's ear. A nurse volunteer, friendly and oddly insistent, brought reading materials and puzzles. Later, a therapist arrived, offering to help Lulu piece together her past. These strangers were never seen bringing identification, and their stories never quite aligned with hospital records. Yet, in the fragile limbo of her recovery, Lulu leaned on them for stability, and, gradually, absorbed their darkest teachings. DVX, short for Deja Vu Extreme, or so its recruiters called it, had made itself sound intriguing, a think tank devoted to rewriting personal narratives. They promised Lulu clarity, a chance to reclaim the self she'd lost. In private sessions, they fed her half-truths about Dante's devotion, sowed seeds of doubt about her family's intentions, and disciplined her body with techniques that sharpened reflexes and reflexively dulled empathy. By the time Lulu officially left the hospital under Dante's watchful eye, DVX operatives had already set the groundwork for her radical transformation. At first, Dante chalked up Lulu's new intensity to post-coma zeal. She took up martial arts classes, citing a desire to feel strong in her newly fragile body. She insisted on driving herself to appointments, something she never had before, and began going on long, solitary walks in the night, returning home silent, her eyes distant. When he questioned her, she brushed him off with a perfunctory smile. "I'm just reclaiming my life, Dante. It feels good to feel alive again." But in her solitude, she was not alone. DVX handlers monitored her every move, whispering instructions through innocuous-sounding phone calls and encrypted messages embedded in harmless videos and articles they sent her way. By the third month after awakening, Lulu's personality had shifted decisively. Gone was the kindly schoolteacher who baked muffins for Molly's classmates. In her place stood a woman calm under pressure, capable of compartmentalizing emotion. She spoke of missions, of objectives, and of eliminating variables. Dante, ever the optimist, believed Lulu was merely throwing herself into hospice advocacy, unaware that those variables included her own family. The poisoning of her young son, Rocco Falconeri, was the first test of her will and the confirmation of her brainwashing. Rocco's sudden bout of food poisoning seemed at first a tragic accident. He'd eaten cupcakes from the school bake sale and fallen violently ill. But when Dante noticed telltale signs of a rare neurotoxin in the hospital lab report, a compound almost never found outside industrial contexts, his protective instincts flared. He had always trusted Lulu's vigilance over their children's safety. The idea that she could have slipped up so catastrophically felt impossible. Yet the forensic team's analysis pointed to a deliberate act, and as Dante dug deeper, heart-pounding, the clues led him inexorably back to his wife's late-night excursions. Unbeknownst to him, DVX, ever eager to prove Lulu's loyalty, had orchestrated the poisoning as a means of binding her more tightly to the organization's cause. They had provided a small vial of the toxin, disguised as a holistic herbal supplement, and a precise dosage schedule. Lulu, her mind already fatigued from recovery and craving a sense of purpose, had followed their orders without question. The moment the toxin was administered, mixed into Rocco's apple juice, it triggered an allergic reaction so severe the hospital's rapid response team nearly lost the boy. If not for Dante's swift intervention, Rocco might not have survived the night. The crisis should have shattered Lulu's resolve, yet DVX used it to deepen her indoctrination. She was told that failure was unacceptable, that her loyalty must be proven through sacrifice, even if that sacrifice meant destroying the life she once cherished most. They convinced her that family ties were a hindrance to greater good, that true freedom lay in severing the heart's attachments. In the tightly controlled environment of their secret rehabilitation facility, a converted warehouse outside Port Charles, she was retrained, both physically and mentally. Under the guidance of a former covert operative named Vale, Lulu mastered hand-to-hand combat, learned to pick locks, and practiced stealth insertion, all while her tutors reinforced DVX's cold creed: emotion is weakness. Loyalty is submission to cause. Family is betrayal. Back in Port Charles, Dante's own investigation bore grim fruit. A recovered security camera snippet from a convenience store revealed Lulu slipping into the back seat of an unmarked sedan. A GPS ping on her phone placed her in the outskirts of town at odd hours. When confronted, she dismissed his concerns with a practiced calm. "Dante, I'm getting back to life. Don't punish me for finding my strength." But Dante's trust now lay fractured. He turned to Carolyn Weber, the PI for hire, to help piece together Lulu's movements and the truth that her paramour in the seductively benign volunteer was no volunteer at all but an operative delivering coded instructions. As suspicion grew, Lulu received her next mission: eliminate Dante himself. The logic, as DVX laid it out, was cold and mathematical. Dante's unwavering loyalty to family could be weaponized as a tool for greater destabilization within law enforcement, thereby easing DVX's own clandestine operations in Port Charles. Lulu was to administer a slow-acting poison, concealed in Dante's after-work protein shake, sufficient to undermine his health without immediate detection. She was given the chemical compound, detailed instructions on dosage, and a deadline 2 weeks, synchronized to the day Dante had saved Lulu's life during her coma-induced crisis. The irony was not lost on DVX. They reveled in Lulu's emotional turmoil as a sign of the organization's mastery over her psyche. But as Lulu prepared to carry out the plan, a glimmer of her former self flickered through the fog of indoctrination. She found herself watching Dante from the hospital observation deck, listening to his hushed conversation with Molly, reassuring her that Mommy would come home safe tonight. His gentle tone, the way he braided their daughter's hair, something so ordinary, so human, struck a chord deep within Lulu. For a moment, the mission felt unbearable. Yet DVX's grip was ironclad. Any hesitation would invite re-education sessions far more brutal than before. In the days that followed, Lulu's dual life spiraled toward collision. By day, she attended school meetings, offered to organize family get-togethers, and smiled through dinner conversations that left her mind racing with dark instructions. By night, she met with her DVX handlers in abandoned warehouses, her resolve honed like a blade, each day edging her closer to irredeemable acts. Meanwhile, Dante's investigation intensified as Carolyn uncovered a trace of the toxin in Rocco's toxicology report, a rare compound linked to industrial solvents. The revelation that Lulu had not only fed Roxy's cupcakes to Rocco, but had done so with calculated intent shattered Dante's heart. He confronted Lulu in the dim light of their shared bedroom, equipped with damning evidence. "Why?" he demanded, voice raw. "Why would you poison our son?" Lulu's eyes, once so full of life, now looked distant, empty. She sighed, her voice modulated by DVX training. "You don't understand, Dante. I needed a purpose beyond being a mother, a wife. DVX gave me that purpose." Before Dante could respond, she was gone, slipping from his grasp like a wraith into the night. And with her disappearance, the final act of Part 1 closed upon a terrified Port Charles, unprepared for the reckoning to come. In the tense days that follow Lulu's flight, Dante stands on the knife's edge between grief and duty. The police department has issued a missing person alert for his wife, but Dante, knowing the truth of her involvement with DVX, dreads the prospect of discovering her next act. Every phone call, every darkened alley becomes a possible flashpoint. When Carolyn Weber delivers word that Lulu has been spotted near the docks, meeting an unmarked vessel at dawn, Dante's urgency becomes a driving force. He must find Lulu before DVX forces her hand again. As dawn breaks over the mist-shrouded harbor, Dante's detective instincts guide him through a labyrinth of shipping containers. He catches sight of a lone figure, tall, lean, and moving with the precise, fluid gait of the trained operative he now knows Lulu has become. His heart pounds. He calls her name, but the silhouette merely pauses, assessing him with those unrecognizable eyes. Then, in one swift motion, she vanishes behind a stack of crates. The chase that ensues is less a sprint than a psychological gauntlet. Dante pursues her through shadowed passageways, the hiss of fog machines blending with the slap of his boots. Each corner turned reveals a new motive. He's convinced she'll kill him, or that she's lured him into a DVX ambush. Yet beneath the fear, hope persists, hope that he can reach the real Lulu beneath the conditioning. They collide in an abandoned warehouse office, fluorescent lights buzzing overhead. Dante reaches for her, desperation etched on his face. "Lulu, please." She whirls, trained reflexes igniting. Her first reaction is to strike, an instinct honed in DVX's combat drills. But the blow never lands. Dante steps aside, pain and longing mingling in his gaze. "I'm not your enemy," he pleads. "Whatever they've done to you, fight it. Remember us, remember Rocco, remember Molly." Silence stretches as Lulu's eyes flicker, the veneer of DVX training cracking. Memories surface. Dante's laughter as he proposed, Molly's first steps wobbly across the living room, Rocco's chagrin when she read him bedtime stories. And for a heartbeat, the mind control fractures. But DVX's final measure looms, a kill order. A hidden tracker in her jacket, a trigger implanted by those who betrayed her, counts down to 0. In that instant, Lulu must choose. Kill the man who loves her, or defy DVX and risk her own life. Her hand tightens on the taser she's gripped since childhood, but tears spring to her eyes. "I can't," she whispers. The device slips from her fingers, clattering to the floor. At the sound, a siren wails outside, the police, summoned by Carolyn. Lulu staggers, overwhelmed by shame. Dante rushes to her side, arms enveloping her, though the weight of her betrayal presses between them like iron chains. As uniformed officers swarm the warehouse, Lulu surrenders herself, her body shaking with the enormity of what she's done and the relief of being free at last. DVX's hold is broken by the power of love and memory, but the cost is incalculable. In the days that follow, Port Charles reels from the revelations, the near-fatal poisoning of Rocco by his own mother, the plan to assassinate Dante, and the hidden network of DVX cells embedded throughout the city. Investigations unearth stockpiles of chemical weapons, coded communications, and the real identities of the operatives who groomed Lulu. But amidst the headlines and the legal mayhem, one story remains untold, the story of a family shattered and forced to rebuild from the ashes of deceit. At home in the Falconeri residence, Dante carries his children through silent hallways, their trust in him both a balm and a reminder of what was nearly lost. Molly clings to his leg, asking when Mommy will come home, and Dante steels himself to explain not just the events that shattered their world, but the truth of compassion that ultimately saved them all. And Lulu, haunted by guilt, determined to atone, begins the long journey to redemption. She enters a specialized deprogramming program where therapists and former covert ops specialists guide her back to herself, one painful memory at a time. There are no guarantees, no easy absolution, but each dawn brings a glimmer of her former warmth returning to the surface. In the hushed corridors of General Hospital where she once lay comatose, Lulu now walks with purpose. She volunteers in pediatric care, offering crayons and comfort to frightened children, her own heart raw with empathy. When Rocco returns from school, he spots her and runs into her arms, forgiveness unspoken in his tight hug. Dante watches from the doorway, hope tempered by sorrow, and realizes that healing is not forgetting, but carrying the scars with grace. Port Charles will never be the same. Its shadows deeper, its alliances more fragile, but in the fragile threads of family and love, it finds its greatest strength. For in a city where secrets fester and loyalties shift like tides, it is the ties we cherish most that light our way through the darkest storms. And as Lulu and Dante Falconeri navigate the aftermath of DVX's betrayal, they discover that the greatest mission of all is to protect the family that once seemed lost, and in doing so, reclaim a future worth fighting for.